There's a pattern among the most powerful people in the world that almost nobody notices. Walk into any boardroom, any high-stakes negotiation, any gathering of truly successful individuals, and you'll see it. While everyone else is competing to be heard, the person with the most power is often saying the least. This isn't coincidence. It's strategy. Here's what nobody tells you about confidence. Real confidence doesn't need to announce itself. In fact, the more you talk, the less powerful you become. There's actual research backing this up. Studies analyzing communication patterns of CEOs and high-status individuals found that successful people speak roughly 40% less than average communicators in group settings. 40%. That's nearly half as much talking, yet somehow they command twice the respect. So why do we talk so much? The answer is uncomfortable but necessary. We talk because we're insecure. We fill silence because silence feels like judgment. When nobody's speaking, our anxiety convinces us that people are thinking negative thoughts, so we rush to fill that void with words, any words, just to ease our own discomfort. But here's the truth. Every time you fill a silence just because it feels awkward, you're signaling to everyone in the room that you can't handle pressure. You're broadcasting insecurity. Think about the last time you met someone truly confident. I'm not talking about the loud person who dominates conversations. I'm talking about that person who seemed completely comfortable with themselves, who didn't feel the need to prove anything. Chances are they spoke in measured doses. They listened more than they talked. And when they did speak, people actually listened because their words felt valuable, not abundant. This is what I call the currency principle. Imagine if a country printed unlimited money. That money would become worthless. Your words work exactly the same way. The more you talk, the less your words are worth. Scarcity creates value. When you speak less, each word carries more weight. People lean in instead of tuning out. Robert Greene wrote about this in the 48 Laws of Power. Law number 4, always say less than necessary. The powerful and successful have learned that the more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish. Beyond that, the more you reveal, the less mysterious and powerful you appear. Silence makes people uncomfortable, and in that discomfort, they often reveal more than you ever would by asking questions. Let's talk about the moments when silence is actually more powerful than any words you could say. After you make a statement, especially in a negotiation or important conversation, resist the urge to elaborate. Make your point, then stop. The silence that follows will feel uncomfortable. Your instinct will be to fill it, to explain further, to make sure they understood. Resist that instinct. That silence is doing work for you. It's giving your words time to land. It's making the other person process what you said instead of preparing their next argument. Here's another scenario. Someone asks you a difficult question or makes an accusation. Your immediate instinct is to defend yourself with a flood of explanations, but watch what happens when you pause instead. Just a few seconds of silence before responding completely changes the dynamic. It shows you're not reactive. It demonstrates that you're considering your words rather than desperately defending yourself. That pause transforms you from someone on the defensive to someone in control. This applies everywhere. In job interviews, after you answer a question, stop talking. Don't keep selling yourself out of nervousness. Make your point concisely, then let it breathe. In social situations, you don't need to fill every gap in conversation. Comfortable silence is actually a sign of confidence and connection. In relationships, sometimes the most loving thing you can do is simply be present without feeling the need to solve everything with words. The listening advantage is massive too. When you talk less, you learn more. You gather information while others reveal their thoughts, motivations, and weaknesses. You can't learn anything while your mouth is moving. Every successful negotiator knows this. The person talking is losing because they're giving away information while learning nothing. There's also something called the authority effect. Studies show that we unconsciously perceive people who speak less as more authoritative and knowledgeable. It's counterintuitive, but think about it. The expert doesn't need to convince you of their expertise. The person who knows their worth doesn't need to constantly prove it. When you're secure in your value, you can afford to be quiet. Now let's be clear about what silent confidence is not. It's not being passive. It's not letting people walk over you. It's not avoiding difficult conversations. Silent confidence means you choose your words carefully. You speak when you have something meaningful to contribute. You're comfortable with silence because you're comfortable with yourself. You don't fear being forgotten or overlooked because you know your presence speaks louder than your words. Here's how to actually develop this. Start by catching yourself when you're about to speak. Ask yourself, am I saying this because it needs to be said or because I'm uncomfortable with silence? Am I adding value or just adding noise? This self-awareness is the first step. Next, practice waiting 3 seconds before responding in conversations. This tiny pause will feel massive at first, but it trains you to respond thoughtfully instead of reactively. Notice your patterns. Do you over-explain? Do you repeat yourself because you're not sure people understood? Do you fill silence with stories about yourself? Each of these patterns reveals insecurity. The cure is simple, but not easy. Trust that you've been heard. Make your point once, clearly, then trust it was enough. Watch how this changes people's perception of you. When you stop chasing validation through constant talking, something interesting happens. People start seeking your opinion. Your silence creates curiosity. When you finally do speak, people actually pay attention because your words have become rare and therefore valuable. Here's the final lesson. Your words are currency. Spend them wisely. Every sentence you speak either builds your authority or diminishes it. Every silence you hold either demonstrates confidence or gets filled with insecure rambling. The choice is always yours. The most powerful people understand something the rest of us are still learning. You don't build respect by being the loudest voice in the room. You build it by being the most intentional, by knowing when to speak and when to let silence do the work, by being so secure in your value that you don't need to constantly remind people you exist. Silent confidence isn't about being quiet. It's about being selective. It's about understanding that real power doesn't need to explain itself, defend itself, or announce itself. It simply exists, quietly, undeniably, waiting for the exact right moment to speak. And when it does, everyone listens.